Everyone's talking about AI. Nobody's talking about what it actually runs on. You think your laptop chip still matters? It doesn't. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, just said the quiet part out loud. General purpose computing is dead. Not dying, dead. That means the entire infrastructure running the digital economy, the stuff behind Google, Netflix, Siri, Amazon, YouTube, is being ripped out and replaced. Right now, not someday. CPUs, gone. The old model, obsolete. And Wall Street hasn't priced it in. This isn't a story about faster chips. This is about the collapse of a 50-year system and the rise of a new one. And if you understand what's happening, Nvidia isn't just a good stock. It might be the single most important infrastructure company of the next decade. Let me show you why. Let me give you an example. I use a MacBook Pro. It runs on a CPU, so do most laptops. But here's the truth, that chip is already being left behind. Everything you interact with through the internet is switching. When you use Siri, that's AI inference in the cloud. When you search Google, that's inference. When Netflix recommends a show, inference. When ChatGPT gives you an answer, inference. All of that used to run on CPUs. Now it runs on GPUs. It's not your device that's being replaced. It's the invisible infrastructure behind the apps you use every day. And that's where everything changes. For 50 years, computing has been powered by CPUs, central processing units. They're general purpose processors built to do lots of different tasks decently well, but they weren't built to think. AI doesn't need a general purpose chip, it needs a reasoning engine, and that's what GPUs are built for. CPUs handle tasks one at a time. GPUs handle thousands of tasks in parallel. Perfect for math-heavy problems like image generation, chat responses, video processing, and intelligence. This brings us to the most important concept nobody understands: tokens. Every time AI answers a question or writes a paragraph, it breaks that big task into tiny pieces of data called tokens. A token might be a word or part of a word or even a symbol. Think of a token like a single puzzle piece. The AI doesn't see the full picture, it builds it one token at a time. And here's the key, the more tokens it can handle, the smarter and more complex the answer becomes. But it gets even better. Imagine trying to eat a whole pizza in one bite. Impossible. But slice that pizza into 100 pieces, now 100 people can eat at once. That's what tokenization does for AI. It takes one massive job, like writing code, analyzing video, or answering a legal question, and slices it into thousands of tokens that GPUs can process at the same time. Tokenization unlocks parallel thinking, and that's why Nvidia wins. They didn't just build faster chips. They build the factories where intelligence gets assembled, one token at a time. Jensen Huang didn't say inference, the thinking part of AI would grow by 10 times, or even 100 times. He said it would scale by 1 billion times. That's the shift most investors haven't processed yet. The internet used to run on logic. Now it runs on reasoning, and that requires a different machine. That's why general purpose computing is dead. The future belongs to accelerated computing, to the chips that can handle millions of thoughts at once. And Nvidia, they're not catching the trend, they're building the infrastructure that absolutely powers it. Most people think Nvidia still makes graphics cards. That's like saying Tesla makes floor mats. Nvidia doesn't sell chips, they sell intelligence. And more importantly, they sell the machines that generate it. When you ask ChatGPT a question, when Netflix recommends a movie, when Google finishes your sentence, none of that happens on your laptop. It happens inside AI factories running on Nvidia hardware. These aren't data centers anymore. They're industrial plants for intelligence. Jensen Huang calls them that himself, AI factories, and it's not a metaphor. They take in electricity and data and they output reasoning. The old factory made steel. The new factory makes tokens. You don't measure these builds in servers, you measure them in gigawatts. That is the level of scale we're already hitting. 10 gigawatts of new compute power can be worth billions in annual demand, and Nvidia sits in the middle of all of it. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, every major player is plugging into Nvidia's grid. Now imagine being the company that sold electricity to every factory in the Industrial Revolution. That's Nvidia's role in the AI revolution. Now let me pause and be straight with you. I know you're tired of every video titled, "This changes everything," and every thumbnail screaming, "once in a lifetime." Me too. So I'm going to earn it right now. Most investors think in straight lines. Revenue is up a little, margins down a little, stock moves a little. That kind of thinking dies here because compute demand doesn't plateau. It scales with intelligence itself. Every smarter model needs more power. Let me say that again. Every smarter model needs more power. Every longer video, every new AI agent, every update that makes these systems reason deeper, all of it multiplies the number of tokens being processed. More tokens equals more work equals more GPUs equals more Nvidia. That's exponential, not theoretical exponential, real exponential, backed by watts, silicon, and contracts. Nvidia isn't selling a part, they're selling power for thinking. And when you realize that, linear price charts stop making sense. You stop asking, what's next quarter's EPS? You start asking, how much new intelligence can the world afford to build, and who owns the supply chain that makes it possible? Nvidia owns that choke point. Chips, systems, networking, software, and the ecosystem that ties them all together. That's why this really does change everything. And for anyone who understands what they're holding, it might truly be that once-in-a-lifetime setup the thumbnail warned you about. Wall Street keeps putting price targets on Nvidia like it's still a CPU company. That model is dead. CPUs are linear, GPUs are parallel. Linear math can't price exponential growth. Analysts are still using spreadsheets that were built for a world that no longer exists. Revenue in, margins out, multiple on top. Old math for a new world. AI doesn't move in straight lines. Every smarter model adds work, creates more tokens, and drives more compute. More tokens mean more GPUs means more Nvidia. Here's the truth. Wall Street values Nvidia like it sells hardware. It doesn't. Nvidia sells power for thinking. Every time the world decides to think harder, Nvidia gets paid. Stop modeling demand, start modeling capability. Stop pricing quarters, start pricing eras. And I'm not guessing. Nvidia is my second largest holding. I've got over $1 million in it. Let me give you an example that proves it. Have you noticed that ChatGPT and other AI tools are taking longer to respond lately? That's not the system getting slower. That's AI powering up. That extra time is inference, tokenization, millions of GPUs across the world thinking more deeply, reasoning step by step. Those seconds you're waiting, that's new factories processing intelligence in real time. And Nvidia supplies the engines inside those factories. So when Wall Street asks what Nvidia's next quarter looks like, they're asking the wrong question. The right question is this: how many new gigawatts are coming online, and who controls the factories that turn electricity into intelligence? Global AI infrastructure spending could hit $5 trillion a year before the decade ends. That's not a projection. That's the direction the largest buyers on Earth are already moving. So stop trading Nvidia like a CPU company. Own it like the grid for synthetic intelligence, because that's what it is. And people keep asking, when will someone catch Nvidia? Let me save you some time. They won't. This isn't a chip race anymore. It's a system monopoly. Competitors are fighting to sell individual parts. Nvidia built the whole machine. Let's start with the obvious. They have the best silicon, but that's not the real edge. The real advantage is co-design. Every chip, every board, every cable, every piece of software is designed together as one system. That means every layer talks to every other layer perfectly. No one else can do that. AMD, they can make chips. Intel can make chips, but they can't build the full stack. Nvidia controls the hardware, the networking, the firmware, and the software that programs it all. That software, CUDA, is a 16-year head start. It's the operating system for AI compute. Every developer, every model, every cloud runs on it. You can't replace it without rebuilding the entire ecosystem from scratch. That's why Jensen Huang said, even if competitors gave their chips away for free, Nvidia would still win, because the total cost of ownership, the time, the integration, the performance per watt, still favors Nvidia by a mile. Their systems deliver up to 30 times more performance every year through co-design and software optimization alone. You can't catch that with a cheaper part. You'd need to rebuild the physics. And while the rest of the industry argues over price, Nvidia is solving problems no one else even sees yet. They're optimizing data centers at the gigawatt level, balancing power, cooling, networking, and compute to create the perfect AI factory. That's not a chip business. That's an infrastructure business. So when people say AMD is coming or Intel is catching up, they're missing the point. They're trying to run a marathon on the wrong track. Nvidia already built the stadium, owns the stopwatch, and sells the tickets. That's why I'm holding, because you don't bet against the company that's defining the physics of the game. People say AI is the new oil. That's wrong. Oil gets pumped once. AI gets built forever. Every major economy is racing to build AI infrastructure. Data centers, networking, cooling, and compute. All of it runs on Nvidia. This isn't a trillion-dollar market. It's a multi-trillion-dollar build-out that touches every industry on Earth. AI factories are now measured in gigawatts, not servers. One can draw as much power as an entire city. By 2030, global AI infrastructure spending could exceed $5 trillion a year. That's not a projection. That's a global arms race for intelligence. Every country wants to own its own AI grid. Every company wants its own model, and every app wants its own engine that thinks, and Nvidia is the supplier behind them all. This isn't a one-time boom. Each new generation of AI demands more compute than the last. The smarter the models get, the more GPUs they need. That's the flywheel, and you can't turn it off. So Nvidia isn't a tech stock anymore. It's the backbone of a new industrial era, one powered by intelligence instead of electricity, and they own the engines. Everyone wants the same answer. Should I buy Nvidia? Here's the bull case. AI spending is accelerating. Nvidia owns the full stack: chips, systems, networking, and software. They have a decade-long lead in CUDA, a moat built on data, and customers lining up faster than they can ship. Their margins are expanding, not shrinking, and they're the single company positioned to sell into every new wave of intelligence the world creates. And now the bear case. The valuation is stretched. Hype is everywhere. Competitors are throwing billions at the problem. And if AI spending slows, or if custom chips from hyperscalers take share, Nvidia's growth rate could normalize. And no company grows in a straight line forever. Well, here's how I see it. I don't buy Nvidia for the next quarter. I buy it for the next decade. The short-term risk is volatility. The long-term risk is missing the infrastructure shift of a generation. Look, I don't want you to just watch my videos. I want you to get results. That's why I built my Patreon. And don't take my word for it. Here's what people inside are saying. One member just turned a set of Iris Energy calls into a 16% gain overnight. Another said it's been the best 6 months of their investing journey, up over 95%. And one more closed out positions for nearly 100% gains in a single day. This isn't theory, it's real results from people applying the same research and strategies I share inside Patreon every week. So if you want deeper analysis, my exact trades, and access to a community that's winning together, the link is in the description. So join us. Don't wait until you're looking back and wishing you did.